Hi, everyone. Today I'm just going to read to you a story called Muhammad the Messenger. You just have to sit back. You can kind of close your eyes if you like. Just listen to this story. It's from our Blue Books in class. Muhammad ibn Abd Allah licked the last bit of pastry from his lips. The mixture of dates, walnuts, almonds, and honey had just the right amount of cinnamon and orange blossom flavor. The meal had been impressive: fresh yogurt, a spicy salad made with cracked wheat grains, roast goat and lamb, eggplant dumplings, spiced chickpeas and lentils, and goat's milk. His dear wife, Khadija, had prepared a meal fit for kings, and his guests seemed well satisfied. But no evening would be complete without poetry. Arabs were some of the best poets in the world. Arabs loved to write and listen to poetry. So, of course, Muhammad had hired one of the best poets here in the city of Mecca to entertain his guests. As the poet began to recite, Muhammad looked into the courtyard of his comfortable home. Fountains bubbled, small birds bathed in the water. A breeze tickled the leaves of the dozen or so date filled palm trees. Muhammad sighed. Inside his home was just as beautiful. Colorful tiles brightened the walls. Brightly colored carpets and wall hangings made his home feel warm and comfortable. Candles and oil lamps cast flickering light across the rich colors and into the dark corners. Muhammad sighed again. Even with all this, he was not content. Oh, he did not long for more beautiful things, more camels or more gold. No, he was more than fortunate to have the worldly goods he did. For a poor orphan, taken in by an uncle after his parents' death, Muhammad had done very well. He was an honest, respected businessman who sold Arabian spices to the East. No, Muhammad was unhappy because he longed for the feelings he had had as a poor child. When he was a child, people cared about each other more. The needs of the tribe were more important than those of the individual. Now it seemed people cared more about themselves than about their tribe, and there was too much gambling and drinking. Tomorrow I will return to my cave in the hills, thought Muhammad. For many years, Muhammad had been spending time alone in a cave on Mount Hira. There, he would meditate and think about how he could make life better. The day after the dinner party, Muhammad set out for Mount Hira. The air smelled sweet with the odor of spices. The heat brought out the scent of plants where they grew on the dry hillsides. Here and there, Muhammad saw goats grazing on the thinly scattered grass. When Muhammad arrived at the cave, it was dark and cool inside. He sat and thought for many hours. Then, to his surprise, he heard a voice. "Muhammad, you are a messenger of God," it said. It told him he must proclaim the word of God to his people. Muhammad was uneasy. He was only 40 years old, and he thought maybe he was going crazy. He decided to go home and tell his wife Khadija what had happened. She thought God had sent the angel Gabriel to Muhammad to tell him he was a prophet. Khadija believed Muhammad could be a good prophet who would help their people find a better way to live. Khadija told some of her friends and family about what had happened to Muhammad. They wanted to talk with him and find out what the angel had said. God also began to reveal more truths to Muhammad, who called these truths revelations. Soon, more and more people were interested. Muhammad began to preach to small groups of people. Some people made fun of him, but many did not. They listened carefully and thought the revelations made sense. Later, people began to write them down. Eventually, all the revelations would be included in a book called the Quran. Some people who listened to Muhammad's preaching were angry. These were merchants in Mecca who made a lot of money from people coming to pray at the Kaaba, the most sacred shrine in the Islamic world. It is toward the Kaaba that Muslims turn when they pray. Before it became the Islamic shrine, it was simply a place where pilgrims came to visit, and when they came to visit, they had to buy goods, buy food, buy shoes, and this kept the merchants rich and happy. So at this place, the Kaaba, people worshipped many gods and goddesses. Muhammad said that people should worship only one God, Allah. The merchants were worried that people would stop coming to Mecca. If they did, the merchants would not be rich anymore. They threatened Muhammad sometimes and even attacked him. Muhammad and some of his followers decided they must leave Mecca. This was a sad time for Muhammad. Not only was he leaving his home, but his beloved wife Khadijah had died. They first went to the town of Taif, but soon the people there said that he could not stay. Muhammad had to return to Mecca. In Mecca, life became difficult. Muhammad and his followers heard a rumor that some people were planning to murder him. That night, Muhammad and a trusted friend, Abu Bakr, left the city and hid in a cave in the hills. Some people say the men who planned to kill Muhammad rode right by the cave, but didn't look inside because a spider's web covered the opening. When it was safe to come out, the Prophet and his friend went to Medina, a town where many of Muhammad's followers lived. When Muhammad and Abu Bakr arrived in Medina, people were excited and happy. These Muslims were glad to see their Prophet was safe. If his enemies had found Muhammad, they surely would have killed him. This important journey was called the Hijrah, and now marks the first year of the Muslim calendar. Now Muhammad had a place to live where many people believed in his revelations. Muhammad still had a dream. He wanted to send the people who worshipped many gods and goddesses away and turn the Kaaba into a place of worship for Muslims. His opportunity came in 630. By this time, Muhammad had many followers. He decided it was time to march again on Mecca and try to take over the town. Muhammad and his men were well armed and ready to fight. When they got to Mecca, they were surprised. There was no one waiting to fight. A new leader had come to power in Mecca. He saw how many people were becoming Muslims. He also knew what good fighters Muhammad and his men were. He surrendered the city. Muhammad and his men entered the city peacefully. Muhammad went straight to the Kaaba. He touched the black stone at the eastern corner of the Kaaba and shouted, Allahu Akbar, which means God is great in the Arabic language. From that moment forward, the Kaaba became a Muslim shrine. Muhammad returned to Medina in triumph. Everywhere, Muslims rejoiced at Muhammad's great victory and looked forward to the time when they could make their own pilgrimage to Mecca. Muhammad lived only 2 years after he took over the Kaaba, but from the age of 40 until he died, he founded an important new religion. Today, there are more than 1 billion Muslims. 20 years after Muhammad's death, his revelations were written down in the Quran. The Quran also includes the 5 pillars of the Muslim religion. So let's just go over this just a bit. The word Islam means giving oneself over to the will of God. It is a monotheistic religion, one God, founded by Muhammad, who is the prophet of Allah, prophet of the God, and followers of Islam are called Muslims. Muslims believe in the same Judeo-Christian God that Jews and Christians believe in. They believe that Jews and Christians are peoples of the book. Remember when we spoke of Judaism and Christianity and we started with Abraham and we talked about Sarah and their son Isaac. Remember we said that Abraham also had a son with the housemaid and their son was Ishmael. And from that come the 12 Arabian tribes and those that become the Muslims. This is what Muslims believe to be as the prophetic tradition from Adam all the way down through Abraham, through Jesus to Muhammad. You heard me refer to Mecca, and you see it spelled a few different ways. Today, we spell it here in the West as Mecca, Mecca or Makkah. They are the same place. It was the largest and richest city in Western Arabia. Pilgrims came there to worship at Arabia's holiest shrine, the Kaaba. You heard me speak of this as well. Here are some images of the Kaaba through the years. It's pretty remarkable. At the end of the story, you heard me refer to the five pillars of Islam, the five pillars of faith. The original religion of Islam is like a house supported by five pillars. These are five rules or principles that Muslims must follow. Five pillars of Islam help a Muslim to worship Allah and guide his daily life. A true Muslim will try to keep all five pillars of Islam, and here they are. First, we have faith or shahada, prayer or salat, giving, zakat, fasting or psalm, pilgrimage, hajj. Together, they hold up what is the basic ideals. The first pillar of faith, the shahada, is a declaration, and it is simply this: there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. You can hear Muslims say this 5 times a day in prayer. These are some of the times you can hear the Shahada during the day: dawn, noon, late afternoon, sunset, and evening. The second pillar is giving of alms. This is charity. Muslims believe that all things belong to God, and Muslims must give 2.5% of their income to the poor. There is also fasting. They must fast each year from sunrise to sunset during the holy month of Ramadan. There is pilgrimage or Hajj. Each Muslim must travel to Mecca 2 months after Ramadan at least once in his or her lifetime. That'll do it for now. When you come to class tomorrow, we will be going to either the library or the computer lab where you will continue your study of Islam. Have a good day.